The wealthy, that the real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. They're irrelevant. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media news, all the big media companies. So they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. You know something? They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. Yeah. You know? And nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on, the fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
So I'm back. This is going to be a very important topic that a lot of people can relate to, especially if you live in America or if you've been to America or if you're seeking to come to America. This video can really be relatable and help everybody. So I wanted to touch on this quote unquote American dream. I originally wanted to make this video talking about working a 9 to 5, and I guess we're gonna touch on that also about, working a 9 to 5, the work life that most of us go through. Because I've been seeing a lot of videos and a lot of people talking about, inflation, working jobs that they hate, not wanting to work, starting their own business, going to school, people struggling who have college degrees, people who just tired of the rat race and just tired of, life for the most part. Like I looked at a poll and it said 60 to 70% of Americans say that they not happy. And I believe that, if not even more. Because I'm not sure how many people, because it's not like they got to talk to every single American to ask them how they feeling. So, this was based off of a certain amount of people, but I'm pretty sure if they can ask everybody, it'll probably be more like 80 to 85%. Because if you look online and blogs, people podcast and people discussing things, and you see this election year and you see with the evictions being up, foreclosures being up, inflation being up, food costing more. We see people complaining and mad all the time about what's going on. And most people not happy for the most part. And if you pay attention, we know that most people hate working a 9 to 5. We know that most people hate their job. They only go because they have to. Most people is tired, don't know what to do, just stressed out all the way around. So I wanted to get into that and talk about that. So as far as the American dream goes, because like the title says, is that why most Americans will never get to experience the American dream per se. So if you don't know what the American dream is, well, first I'm gonna pull up the quote unquote definition of the American dream. What it says, when you Google it and when you look up what is the American dream. So oh it says the American dream is the belief that anyone can attain their own version of success in a society where upward mobility is possible for everyone. Oh, so basically, as we know, America is the land of opportunity. Basically, the American dream is basically saying is that anybody can make it. You can have the life that you want to have if you work hard enough, if you put in enough work, you can achieve success in America, basically. Okay, this is what I was looking for, the dictionary definition. So it says the ideal by which equality of opportunity is available to any American, allowing the highest aspirations and goals to be achieved. A workaholic, for example, a workaholic lawyer who seems to be living the American dream. So it's basically saying that in America, that anybody can achieve success, anybody can be what they want to be if they work hard enough for it. The opportunity is there. So is that true or not? Is the American dream true, or is it an illusion? So what's funny is that this is another thing where all the word all doesn't apply. Just like everything in life, there's no all to anything. There's a obsessions to every rule. So when we're talking about the American dream, yes, there is an American dream for a lot of people or some people, because some people do achieve success, some people do achieve what they want in life. We know that a lot of people come from other countries to America to get a better life and to have a family, have a house, and have opportunities that they wouldn't have in their country. We do know that there is a lot of people who went from rags to riches and became something in life. We know this. So, but due to American dream, it exists for some, and some people is able to reach the American dream and achieve it. But like the title says, most Americans won't experience the American dream. Most Americans won't achieve success, won't have the life that they want to live. Most of us, it's sad to say, um, would basically die miserable for the most part and live a life that we didn't want to live. Because most of us is living a life that we don't want to live right now, and we gonna continue to live a life that we don't want to live. So I want to break down why is that? Why is it that most Americans don't achieve their American dream? And because it's a good topic, and I'm gonna hit it from all angles, because we know that there's conservative ways of looking at this, and then we know that there's liberal and other ways to look at this that's not conservative. So getting into the first reason, because I got four main reasons why most Americans will never achieve the American dream. So I'm gonna get the conservative, and I'm gonna get the big one out the way. That a lot of people want to say, people who have achieved the American dream, people who are successful, people who are happy. What most of them is going to say is that the reason why most people don't achieve the American dream is because they didn't work hard enough. or they made the wrong decisions, basically it's your fault. If you don't achieve the American dream, it's your fault. You didn't do what you need to do, blame yourself. That's the first reason. So I want to deep diving on that real fast. It's that yes, it is true. Obviously, like a lot of people live a miserable life because of their bad decisions. It just is what it is. There is a big part that plays into it. We can't lie and act like the other reasons that I'm gonna give that's like more non-conservative, you could call it excuses or whatever you want to call it, but one of these things you can't that I'm gonna name, you can't say that it's an excuse because you have no control over it. But um looking at it from that standpoint of yes, the from the conservative way is that yes, a lot of people do shoot themselves in the foot, make bad decisions, ruin it for themselves, didn't work hard enough, was lazy, so they never got what they wanted in life. So we do know that that does apply to a lot of people. And if you one of them person and if you is like, you have to accept that. Like, and I'm one of the people that I'm big on accepting your decisions in life, because I do believe like the saying is that life is all about decisions and choices. It really is. I realized this when I was younger, like in my early 20s, is that all life really is about big choices and little choices, big decisions and small decisions in your everyday life. And that's what really sets up and dictates your life. It's the choices and decisions that you make and how you react to things that happen to you. Because we all have bad things happen to us, some more than others. And it's really how you handle it and how you bounce back. And it really is about being resilient and being in control of your mind, because a lot of people not in control of their mind. A lot of people give in to vices, whether it be drugs, alcohol. We already know how that is. And a lot of people just they let life beat them. Instead of beating life, they let life beat them. So when something bad happens to them, they don't know how to overcome it. They get down on themselves. Like I said, they turn to drugs and alcohol, and it just becomes a downward spiral. And we know that some bad decisions are bigger than others. Like per se, like let's say that when you 18 or 20, you commit a crime and get 10 to 20 years. So that decision right there is big, is already going to shape your life and how your life going to go, more so than a small decision of, let's say that you quit your job. Like let's say that you quit your job without having another job lined up or a savings. Yes, you're gonna struggle and that's gonna affect your life, but you can bounce back from that easier, of course, than if you facing 10 to 20 years in prison. And then it could have been a mistake, and that's what's messed up. Because on a lesser note, like a lot of women who had children early, had kids by the wrong man, that can mess up a lot of women life also, because a kid doesn't go away. So you struggling by yourself trying to raise this kid or multiple kids, can that's getting into the bad decisions for the women who have multiple kids, um multiple child fathers, and they not in their life for helping them at all. So it's like you done chose two bad men to have kids with. Now you have to face them consequences and you have to deal with that, which is going to make your life harder in the end versus if you chose the right man or just didn't have them kids. So we know that certain decisions like that is going to really shape your life. And even though it's a mistake, it's a mistake that you can't take back. If you serving 10 to 20 years and you committed a crime, you can really feel bad and wish you didn't do it, but that's not going to get you out of prison. So we got to take heed to all and realize that your decisions and what you do in life, one like they always say, one bad decision can affect you for the rest of your life. One split decision, we know most people who chose to kill somebody or do something out of anger or impulse, then cost them the rest of their life. And so a lot of people then died that way, making an impulse decision, drinking and driving, or doing something dumb. So you always have to keep that in mind, that your decisions do shape your life. And a lot of people, a lot of your misery and a lot of people misery do come from their bad decisions and the choices that they made. And you have to just eat that. And either if it's not, like I said, if it's not detrimental to something that you can overcome, then I feel like anything that, as long as you alive, you can overcome certain stuff. It might be harder or take longer. Like I said, if you do have 20 years in prison, when you get out after them 20 years, if you decide to do the right thing and put the work in, you can still achieve something in life in the American dream. You just will have um less time to experience it, if that makes sense. Like, because you've been lost 20 years of your life and you don't know how long you have, but you still have time to make things right. Even if you're a woman who has kids, it's going to be harder for you, but you could still achieve, you know you could still achieve what you want out of life if you put in enough work and if you fortunate and and lucky enough to live long enough. We know that, but that's how you have to really look at it. And a lot of people do have to take accountability and realize that no, the system is not beating me down. No, it's not the government fault. No, you don't just have bad luck. Some of us do have to really look and realize that we're the reason for our life being the way that it is. Our bad decision, doing things that we know wasn't right, staying with the wrong person longer than we should have. Like, you have to take accountability for that and realize, okay, I messed up. And that doesn't mean beat yourself up or kill yourself or nothing like that. You just have to realize that I messed up. Let me not blame nobody and just try to do what I can do and the best that I can. Like, everybody makes mistakes. Life not perfect, like you can't really harp on that, but you do have to acknowledge um what you then did and where you then messed up at, because we know the first step to recovery is admitting that where you made a mistake at. So I want to get that out the way. Of course, the big one, what a lot of people is gonna say is that yes, a big reason why you didn't get to own a house or have the perfect family or make it rich is because of your own bad decisions or you not putting the work in. So that's the first reason why most people don't achieve the American dream. Now getting into the other reasons. The main thing, like the thing that you can control, when it comes to American dream. This is the thing, is that life isn't fair and everybody is dealt a different set of cards. So this would be, I guess, my rebuttal to what I just said in the conservative way, and the people who are successful and feel like, oh, you just lazy. Oh, it's your fault if you don't achieve the American dream. My rebuttal to that is that everybody cards is dealt different and everybody is not fortunate as others, because some stuff does come down to luck, opportunity, and being at the right place at the right time. It's not what you know, it's who you know. We know that all of these things hold some truth. We do know this. Even the most conservative person or the person who feels like, oh, you just have to put in the work, you lazy, you still have to admit that your circumstances and there is going to be things that's out of your control that's going to affect your life and what you're able to achieve, because it's not as simple as, oh, if you work as hard as you can that you're going to achieve success. There is plenty of people who work their ass off, try their hardest, try to make the best decisions in life, but they still not able to get to where they want to go or achieve what they want to achieve out of life. And that really comes down to, like I said, things that's out of your control. Because the main thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'm gonna make another video about this because this is so important. But for instance, as far as the American dream goes, is that your parents is gonna really shape your life. That's where everything really starts at. And we know that some people was born into the American dream. That's what I'm getting at. Some people was born in it, and some people have to go try to achieve it. If you LeBron James' son, Denzel Washington's son, one of Elon Musk kids, one of Bill Gates' kids, like if you in the Walmart family, if you um you know I can go on and on. If you Kim and Kanye kids, like if you Will Smith and Jada kids, like that you was already born into the American dream. You was already born in a good with a good parents, that's successful parents. You was born into money, you was born into opportunities already that most people is not going to be afforded to, or people who had bad parents or not good parents that didn't handle their business. And the thing is that you didn't get the control, you don't control who your parents is. That's what it really comes down to, is that because if we could control who our parents is, all of us would have rich, famous and rich parents. All of us would. But you don't have that luxury. Like if you was born to a crackhead and an alcoholic, like I always like to say, you can't control that, and you're gonna be behind the eight ball off rip. If you're born into poverty, if you're born in the hood, if like this is stuff that you don't have control over. And we know this. So, and that's gonna put you behind the eight ball to where you gotta work harder, and it's gonna be harder for you to succeed in life. And you basically trying to climb out a hole and overcome your bad circumstances of where you was put at, because we already know when you born into a bad family, we already know if you don't have a father, like some people don't have, or you have a dad that's not in your life or not about his business, we know how that's gonna hurt you when it comes to having a man guide you and teach you how to be a man, or even a woman. Like we already know how it affects women not having a father in their life, to where they start looking for love and all the wrong places, dating men that they shouldn't be dating in. And like we know how that affects you. Then there's even people who have a bad mom, an alcoholic mom, or a mom who gave them up for adoption, who didn't want them. We know how that affects you psychologically, and you have to overcome being in shelters, being at home, being homeless, not having no food, or even growing up in the hood. You growing up in a crime-filled environment where it's gangs and drugs everywhere. Like you have to overcome that in your life, and most of the time you don't have the guidance. And because that's what I always say, is that I feel like everybody needs guidance, especially when you're young, a teenager, especially early 20s. Is that's when you really need somebody to guide, your parents to be there to set you up, or a mentor or somebody to really show you the way. Because if you came from a family in a situation to where don't nobody know no better, like for example, is that if you notice that, like I was saying, with celebrities or people who successful, you notice that now, of course, this is not all, because we know that there's a lot of kids who came from good families, had good parents, and still messed up. And that's getting back to my first part, that made bad decisions, who had a silver spoon handed to them, and they still chose to mess that up, get on drugs, to blow the money, and just do dumb stuff. So it's not, of course, not everybody who comes from a good family or have good parents end up achieving the American dream and end up having a good life. We know there, but that's getting down to my point. Remember, there's no all in anything. We speaking in majorities. But for instance, like we see all of these athletes who kids end up becoming athletes. Like how many NFL and NBA players got Junior in their last name? We just seen Marvin Harrison's son get drafted. We see Steph Curry, dad, is Dale Curry, was in the NBA. Kobe Bryant dad played in the NBA. Like, like a lot of athletes, especially now, kids is making it in sports and following in their parents' footsteps, but not even in sports, in business. How many people took over their parents' business, or how many people have took over their dad's business? How many people was set up, and like, oh, my dad was a police officer, so I was a police officer, or my dad ran his mom and pop store, so I took over the mom and pop store. Like, like it's a lot of foundation there for you to, achieve and do stuff in life, because you were shown that, because you had a foundation there to teach you. And even if you don't follow in that footsteps, if you have parents who are able to send you to college, or able to who has connections to get you into whatever field that you want to get into, we know that that makes a huge difference. Like, versus somebody who wasn't dealt that good hand, who parents is, sorry to say, that parents who didn't do nothing with their life, who struggled most of their life, didn't achieve nothing, didn't get you a college fund. Like, we know that that really sets you back, and that sets a lot of people back. And that's what hinders a lot of people. Now there is a lot of people who make it rags to riches, and them the best stories, and them the stories that we love, like Scarface, the people who made it out of nothing, who came from nothing. We know that that does exist, and they get the most credit, but we know that that's not the majority. That's why they are so idolized, and we, look at them like that because we know how hard that is to do. It's like a needle in a haystack, like trying to do that, trying to overcome all of that stuff, being behind the eight ball and then still making it and becoming something. We know that most everybody can't do that. It's sad to say that we see that all the time. Most people is not able to escape their circumstances that they was born into and the hard life that they was forced to live. That does, like I said, don't have nothing to do with them, that they didn't get to choose. Because like I said, it's one thing, like I said, if you made your own bad decisions and led yourself there. But it's another thing if, like I said, you were just born into a messed up family, a messed up situation, born into poverty, born like, with a lack of knowledge, nobody to teach you. All you taught is to work a 9 to 5. Like we know, especially when you're younger and you don't know no better, it's easier for you to make mistakes. And then the good thing about we know about a lot of these people who do come from good families is that they family able to erase a lot of their mistakes. Able to pay people off or to, like it's a difference between if you, let's say if you lose your job and you don't have no family, or you don't come from a family of money, and and now you about to get evicted because you don't have no help, versus somebody who came from who parents do have money or came from a good family who able to help them. It's not nothing for them to call their parents and say, "Oh, I lost my job. I need help. I need you to loan some money. Need you to loan me some money real quick." We know that some people is afforded that, then that makes a huge difference. But that's something you don't have control over. You don't have control if you was born into a family where nobody has money, nobody helps each other, versus people that do. So that so my main point is that everything is not equal. A lot of people don't achieve the American dream because their family, their lineage never achieved the American dream. They just they put behind a bad circle. They were set up to fail, basically. That's what I'm getting at. A lot of people were set up, and a lot of us were set up to fail. We know this. Like a lot of people, we wasn't set up to succeed, versus there are people who was set up to succeed. So that's a big reason also why a lot of us don't. It just was too much for us to overcome. And we wasn't lucky enough, because even if the people who made it for characteristics, this is also the thing is that some of it is from hard work, but then a lot of it, even most of them will tell you it's by luck and being at the right place at the right time or meeting the right person. Because like even a lot of people who became something, like like let's say the athletes who came from poor backgrounds and stuff, most of them had coaches and mentor, like either they coach or somebody took them under their wing and guided and helped them, like, oh, you athletic, you should play sports, or I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna make sure that you get good grades and do what you have to do so I can try to get you to the league. Or even if you lucky enough to bump into somebody who, like in high school, or you did do good enough, you was good early on in high school, and you went to college and you met somebody who gave you an opportunity, like, oh, I'm gonna give you an opportunity at my company. Like everything is about being given an opportunity and being helped. That's why the old saying, if it's not what you know, who you know, is so true. Is that's what it really comes down to. And some people just not fortunate enough to run into somebody that can help them. Like, like I always like to say, all of the best at their best believe that there was people who could have made the NBA or NFL that didn't, because they just wasn't afforded that opportunity. Like a lot of us, especially if you from the inner city, know that kid that was good at sports, good as hell. You thought that he could make the league, but he didn't, because he either got involved in a gang, or his grades was messed up, or his home life was messed up, so he didn't have that guidance and he had to drop out of school. I'm pretty sure some dudes who could have went to college and might have made the league, who had to drop out of school to take care of their mom or to get a job. Like, even I know from my senior year, I was forced to work my senior year because my mom got a divorce. So, she's like, I can't afford for you to, to pay for you to go to prom and do all of this. You got to get a job. So, like stuff like that, like it's all about circumstances, and some people just didn't get that break in life. It's not as simple as everybody being lazy and everybody just, like if you just work hard enough and you just gonna achieve it. Like, no, some people just wasn't fortunate enough and just, it just didn't happen for they didn't meet the right person or was given the right situation. That's what it's all about. Somebody giving you an opportunity to do something. And a lot of people not afforded that opportunity. They didn't run into, like, if you make music, there's plenty of people who made music. Some people was lucky enough to run into the A&R, or if you Eminem, you meet Dr. Dre, or like something like that. But then there's a lot of people who make great music, but they just didn't run into the right people or was able to get their music to the right people. Like that happens all the time. So that's my next reasons why most people don't achieve the American dream, because they were set up to fail. And your parents, like I said, I'm gonna make a video about that. Your parents really do dictate your life, and I'm gonna break that down more in the next video. Your life really starts with your parents, and this is why I tell people, when you having kids, you have, like, if you love your kids, you wouldn't set them up for failure. I really do believe in that. Like, if you can't say that you love your kids if you breaking them into poverty, if you breaking them into a bad situation. I'm sorry. The next reason uh that most people don't achieve the American dream is because it's not set up for you to win. Kind of getting back to the video that I played in the beginning with George Carlin and how he was talking about, is that it's not made for everybody to win. And like I always said this, everybody can't be rich, everybody can't be famous, everybody can't be an entrepreneur. There has to be people at the bottom, there has to be workers, there has to be this in order for society to succeed. Because if everybody was rich, then who gonna do the work? If everybody is an entrepreneur, who gonna be the employee? Like, like it's not set up for everybody to win, and you have to know that. So a lot of us just not going to make achieve the American dream because it's not set up for majority of us too. It's set up for a small percentage of us to achieve that, and that's just the way the system is. It's never going to be a time to where everybody, and it's sad to say, because I do believe that it's possible. Now we get into communism and all of that type of stuff, but I believe that it's unrealistic, and then it's realistic because, like, people like to say that how we used to run off of goods and services is that, and the simple fact of, if everybody should work. I never say that people shouldn't have to work. We all have to work. That's how the world runs. But I do believe that it should be where everybody should be able to make an affordable wage. And I think that's what most people argue, is that we work our ass off and we still barely able to live and afford the things that we need to survive. I think that that's more so of the problem, is that if I feel like if you work at 40, 50 hours a week, you shouldn't be struggling and worrying about how you gonna eat or how you gonna pay your bills. Now, some of it, like I said, is getting to people living above their means. Yes, there is a lot of people who do make enough and you would be straight, but you blowing money and doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing. But there is a lot of people who just stuff is just too much and they can't just afford stuff. Because I do believe, because I hate when people say you shouldn't have luxuries. Like, everybody should be able, you should be able to go out to eat, travel every now and then. You should be able to buy yourself some new shoes. Like, I don't believe that, like, you just should have to just be, oh, just pay your bills and that's it. Like, oh, just take care of your bills and don't live life. Like, that's not living. Like, that's not living life. You should be able to buy yourself something nice every now and then. You should be able to go on a trip and live. Like, you should be able to blow money sometimes. Like, that's my whole point. And it's set up for a lot of people not to be able to do that. So that's how I really look at it. And then we know that, and then it's so much, and then I really don't want to deep dive into. I'm just really don't want to go all over the place, because I like to do, because it's so many different scenarios, and it's so many counters to this, and I like to always break stuff down to to as much as it can be broken down. But I don't be wanting to go all over the place and lose the topic and the basis. But yes, but we know that it's not set up for you to win. But what I was gonna say, I will say, because it is prevalent and it does matter to what I'm saying, is that and it does have to do with the topic, is that most people feel like corporations, and we can always argue over this, and it's a famous Tupac interview about this on MTV, and a lot of people have been saying this, is that we always get mad at the millionaires and billionaires and the corporations because we feel like, okay, billion dollar companies like Walmart or McDonald's or Apple, is that y'all make so much money, is that why are y'all so strict and penny pinching when it comes to your employees? For instance, is that like inflation is the perfect example, is that when people ask for higher wages at McDonald's, they're basically saying they want to get paid more, but they want prices to stay the same. That's what everybody wants for the most part. We want we want higher wages, but without inflation. And we can say, and most people would say that that's unrealistic, but we think that it's realistic from the simple standpoint of we want corporations to bite the bullet more. We feel like corporations, y'all are the ones that should, instead of y'all making a profit of $100 or $1 billion a year, why not make 750 million or like 80 million? Like that's what most people want to happen. They want McDonald's, instead of y'all, making whatever y'all make annually in profit, billions of dollars or whatever. Why don't y'all cut some of that to pay y'all employees more? Why don't the CEOs or the owners ever take a cut in order to, help the employees to pay employees more? Instead, corporations and owners and businesses, they jack up the prices so they make sure that they don't lose no money. And that's what I think the biggest problem, and people hate the most, is that owners and everybody does that. But it's hard to argue both ways if you haven't seen both sides of the fence, because I'm pretty sure if I was a owner of a billionaire company, I might think differently. Yes, some of them are just, greedy and money hungry, like we talking about and complain about, but some of them might have more reasons for that. Because like, the whole saying is that, like, why is there people that have 5 houses and there's people who don't have one? Why is there people with 20 cars and then there's somebody who doesn't, who has 1 car or no car? And it's not, like I said, it's not always about this person worked harder than you, because some people, like I said, some people was born into it, or some people was gave that, or, in a more fortunate situation. It's not always that the reason why somebody has more than you because they worked harder than you. That's not always the case all the time. So that's why most people get mad at the system and hate the system. And I do to a certain degree also, because I do agree with that. Like, it is just crazy, regardless of the reason. It is crazy to know that we have homeless people now. A lot of people who is homeless by choice, whether it's drugs or just making bad decisions. But the people who actually work, and that's why I said, like, if you work at 40, 50 hours a week, if you doing all that you can, there should be more help for the average American. We shouldn't be struggling. Like, it shouldn't be like you work at 40, 50 hours and you still, like I said, have to worry about basic needs. And then there's somebody over there who, has, it is a certain level of humility and, that comes down to being human, that you have to feel some type of way that, okay, I got 18 cars outside and there's people who walk in the extreme heat or the extreme cold to get to work every day. Like, like some of that is just like, regardless of how hard you think that you work, it's just like, is that really necessary? And then how is that even set up as people? Because at the end of the day, regardless of stuff, we are human. And then that's what messes a lot of us up, because a lot of people and a lot of rich people, and they don't want to admit it, that they do the stuff and they like it this way so they can feel like they better than the average person. And that's where a lot of this come from, where it's not set up to win. The higher ups and the people who do achieve the American dream, a lot of people achieve the American dream not just because they want to have a better life for them, but a lot of people like to get rich or do stuff to say that they better than everybody else or the average person. And we know that that's the elephant in the room that a lot of people don't want to address, is that If more people was succeeding, then I just become normal. As long as I'm above most people or most people not succeeding, that makes me look better. And I got, my pick of the litter, and I got it to where I own people and I get perks and stuff that other people can't have. Like I get to basically shit on people. So we know that that is a big part of it, which a lot of people won't admit, is that a lot of this has to do with a lack of humility. And then lastly, getting into um the real American dream, or a couple things about this that I failed to mention, a couple things that we need to address about this is that I do feel like living in America, we still do have it better than most places in the world. And that's how they get us also, is that even though it's not perfect here, it is. We know that it's better than a lot of countries, it's better than a lot of places in the world. So in one hand, we should be fortunate of that. And we have to realize that a lot of people leave, like I said before, a lot of people leave their country to come here, and they work their butt off and they achieve a life higher than what most people is able to achieve. Wherever they was from, like, they won't never even get to have the basic stuff that we have. Like, we know, like, some of the stuff that we afforded in America, and that we have iPhones, um, all of this entertainment, all of this stuff that we have to do. A lot of people in other countries not afforded that, or have the luxuries of having all of the stuff that we have. We have the best technology, the best stuff in the world, the most quality, some of the best food, best like I said, technology, houses, clean water. Like, we have a lot of stuff that in in modern times that a lot of other places is lacking. We know that America, is doing better than most. And that's what they get us. And they try to say, well, you should be happy for that, which I do say that you should be grateful, because I always do look at it like it's both ways. Being optimistic about it, you always have to remember that there's always going to be somebody doing better than you, and there's always going to be somebody doing worse than you. That's what you always have to keep in mind, is that yes, if you is working a miserable job, there's somebody right now who don't have a job, that wish that they have a job, that don't have no income, that dealing with a whole another set of problems. Um, we have to always keep that in mind. But I think a lot of us do get caught up in, it don't help with celebrities and entertainment and social media. You seeing everybody else. So it does make people feel a certain type of way when you see somebody doing better than you, when you see the celebrity rich and don't have the problems of the world that we have to deal with. It does hurt you some. And that's what I always felt like it's just like anything. Anytime that you have people doing better than somebody, it creates envy and jealousy. It's a human trait. It just is what it is. Like, you can say whatever you want to say. Especially if you feel like you hopeless, or you can't achieve that, or you feel like and a lot of the people feel like maybe this person don't deserve that. That's easy to argue, but then that's getting to, like, people who was born into a good family or born rich, and then you could look at it just from that standpoint, like, dang, like, you were just fortunate enough to be born into a good family and I wasn't, but so you just got a better life than I do. Like, all of them things definitely play a big factor into it. But it's a lot. Like I said, this topic, it goes deep. Like I said, I can make a part two about this, but my part two gonna be about why most people is miserable working a 9 to 5. And then, even getting to the American dream, like having a house and all of that. We know that most people, like they say, most people, you don't own something in America, and most of us gonna work until we die. Um, like, most of us is not going to escape the rat race. We not. It just is what it is. But I do believe that if you, because I'm arguing both sides, because I can really see both sides. I do really, I'm real objective and I really do, I'm a critical thinker. So I look at it both ways. So that's why I said I battle back and forth because I really do believe that a lot of people, like I said, don't achieve the American dream because of their own fault and them not doing what they need to do. But then I also do understand how it's set up for us to lose and how a lot of people was dealt a bad hand. So it's like that's why it's like I'm kind of battling because two things can be true, as they say. Two things can be true. But for us, for the people who is fortunate, and that's why we tell people, and this is why people who not fortunate get mad at people who blow their opportunities. That's why we do get mad at celebrities and people who rich who do dumb stuff and blow their money, go bankrupt, go to jail. It's like you just don't understand the opportunity that you got that people wish that they can have. Like that's what kills a lot of us. Like like you just don't understand. I wish I had your opportunity. I wish I was born into your family. I wish I, had what you had because, on the other side, it's definitely not no better. And then I know people can say money not everything. Oh, fame is not everything. No, it's not. But it's better than the alternative. I'm sorry, like you can't convince me that being broke or struggling, living paycheck to paycheck will ever be as good as being financially free. You just not going to convince me of that. You just not like, and then like I said, money, but